According to the National Institute of Medicine's July 2006 report, medication errors harm an estimated 1.5 million people in the United States each year, causing upwards of $3.5 billion in extra medical costs. Needless to say, these are alarming numbers for what seems to be a largely preventable problem. Here with us today to talk about medication errors and the legal cases that may arise from them is David Farnbauch, a lawyer with the Sweeney Law Firm in Fort Wayne, Indiana. David, thanks so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here today.
Mr. Farnbauch, I have to admit I had no idea these numbers were so large, that there were so many people that are harmed each year by either being given the wrong medicine or the wrong dosage of a medicine. Can you give us some examples of the type of cases you see in your office involving medication errors?
Well, I would say the most common type of medication error that we see in our office is where someone is prescribed the incorrect dosage of a medication. Oftentimes, there'll be a doctor's order that's written that's misinterpreted by either a pharmacist or somebody that's prescribing the dosage of medication or administering the dosage of medication, and someone will receive 10 or 20 times the amount of medication that they're supposed to receive.
From your perspective, what are some of the factors that account for the increasing trend in patients suffering injury or even death from medication errors?
Well, I think one of the big things that accounts for the number of medication accidents or errors that we see is simply the amount of medication that's now administered to patients. It's not uncommon for elderly patients that are in a nursing home to be on a dozen different medications. So when you have that many medications that are being prescribed, it increases the odds that there's going to be some sort of an error as a result of administering that medication.
What are some of the things our viewers can do to protect themselves or a loved one, maybe a parent who's receiving medication in a nursing home, from being the victim of a medication error?
Well, I think there's really two things. I think the most important thing is just to keep a list of what medications the loved one is supposed to be receiving and the dosages, and match that up with what's actually being administered by the pharmacy or the nursing home or the physician. And the other thing is too, oftentimes we hear from families that there is sort of an onset of some unusual symptoms, but there's a delayed reporting of those symptoms and problems to the doctor or the facility. So if you notice some unusual symptoms, it's important to bring that to the attention of the nursing home or the doctor.
If one of our viewers is hospitalized from a medication error, or maybe has a loved one that is hospitalized from a medication error, what's the first step they can take in pursuing a legal claim against the doctor or hospital or nursing home that was involved in the error?
Well, I think one of the most important steps is retaining the evidence. If there are medication bottles or whatever of the drug that's involved, to retain that evidence. The other thing is, if there is any type of a medication error, I think it's important to contact an attorney or a law firm that handles these type of cases to get advice before you contact the insurance company or the medical provider that's involved.
I'm sure some of our viewers would be concerned about the cost of a legal case involving a medication error. Is it expensive to pursue this type of legal case?
I don't think these cases are expensive for the consumer, because these cases are handled on what's known as a contingent fee basis. And what that means is an attorney fee is based on a percentage of the recovery. If there is no recovery by way of a settlement or a jury verdict in the case, the client is not charged any attorney's fees. And most law firms that handle these types of cases will advance the litigation expenses and only charge expenses if there is a recovery in the case. So it really doesn't cost anything to pursue these types of cases.
David, we appreciate you spending time with us today and talking about this topic of medication error that's affecting thousands of Hoosiers every year.
It was great to be here today.